So this is our built environment mixer, B mixer by Property Talents in Warsaw, 2024, 16th of October. And I'm really delighted to introduce you to our next speaker, John Gabrovic, founder and managing director of Inspire Real Estate Advisory, with over 25 years of experience in gastronomy and 10 years in real estate. John has been the forefront of Poland's food hall revolution. Guys, listen to what assets he's been involved with in the meantime. Elektrownia Powiśle, Centrum Słoneczne in Radom, Boathouse Restaurant, one of my favorite restaurants as well, Blue Cactus, Harmon Market, and many, many, many others. John, why did you decide to focus on food hall of all the other asset classes?
I got to back up because, the gray hair comes from being in the restaurant and nightclub industry from the 1990s. So having one leg in gastronomy, bars. We actually did bowling centers back in the 1990s. You probably were too early but we had Atomic World, Atomic Rozrywki was the name of the bowling centers. We had them in the shopping centers. And I actually fell into the entertainment business because I actually originally was in the real estate business. So I went to business school and studied real estate. Was here in the 1990s, but it was too early before real estate really took off, and so that's when I got into the entertainment stuff. And so over time, I just kind of nurtured this competence where we have one leg in creating community in restaurants and bars that evolved into food halls, but then also understanding the real estate side, what the owners of the assets actually require in order to justify making a big investment in things like a food hall. So when I was working on Galeria Słoneczna in Radom, which we opened in 2010, I approached that being an asset manager there, completely confused with how easy things appeared to be owning a shopping center at the time. And it was pretty easy, although 2010, there was a recession going on. But the fact is that, still the boom in retail had not yet stopped. It started slowing down then. But if you built it, everybody signed a lease. You open it, the customers were there, the footfall was there. And I was, amazed that if you're the owner of the shopping center, if you spent a little bit too much in marketing, you pass the costs on in the rozliczenia in the next year. Service charge, you blow it out. No, but I come from owning the restaurants or owning the businesses where that if you need money to pay salaries and you need to make sure that you're working really hard in order every day to bring people in. And so we approached, actually Galeria Słoneczna was a very unique asset in that we had 15% vacancy when we opened, which was unheard of at the time. And so what we came up with the ideas is that we found uses to put in those vacant spaces to create something more than just shopping. And so it started then. And we just realized that the real estate industry, and a lot of my role is educating the real estate industry. I've done presentations at ULI. What does it really mean to create community inside the assets? Because real estate developers, specifically
retail assets, shopping centers, right? This is what you mean.
Centers or mixed use projects.
Yeah, of course.
Or mixed use. I mean, a lot of the projects, yes, are retail, but most of them now are mixed use because even within the food hall, we're now calling them community hubs because the whole concept has evolved beyond just dining and drinking to more than.
And what are the additional functions? And you mentioned also that you're working on such functions in London, Berlin, and so on. This is like very far ahead of what's going on now in Poland, right? Well, beyond dining and wining, as we can say.
Actually, I can proudly say, because I'm perceive myself to be half Polish. We know when you're Polish, you're very proud. Warsaw is the epicenter of innovation for these food halls, community hubs now in all of Europe.
Give me examples, specific examples.
So I was in London 2 weeks ago. Actually, I'm not supporting projects in London. I just was in London 2 weeks ago, meeting with the best operators of the food halls and the community hubs in all of UK, not just London, but the whole UK. And it's remarkable what's happening is that in Warsaw, and part of it was luck. If I can just go back, 2016, Halakoshiki opened up in Warsaw. Huge success. And that's when I was working at White Star and we had Elektrownia Powiśle. It's like, what the hell are we going to do with all this space? And being the guy on the team that actually understood gastronomy, I said, why don't we figure out how this is done? And so I was in Asia, I was in the United States, and I traveled. There were 4 halls that were actually 5 in all of Europe, Koshiki was one of them, but there was Time Out in Lisbon, which is still number one.
And you just came from Lisbon, right?
Yes,
you just revisited it.
Because we have clients now in Portugal that are saying, Time Out's been open for 10 years now. It's kind of getting tired. And so they think that there's an opportunity to open up a second one in Lisbon.
Second one by the same landlord.
No, which is kind of interesting. You never want to say bad things about someone that's in your industry, but I've been to 2 Time Outs that just opened this past year, and it's becoming a food court. They're losing a bit of the DNA, I think, of what made them successful. So what's happened is, which I'm proud of, is that most of our work is now outside of Poland. It takes a long time to get people to say, no, if you want to really understand what's going on, you have to come to Warsaw. And they go, Warsaw? I mean,
I am surprised.
Most people have never been to Warsaw, so the expectations are.
And they think bears are still walking around the street.
And there's a babsha with the hat on, hoe in the fields. So we start at Koshiki, and we discuss what's good, bad, because that was the first one, and it's the queen of food halls in the city. And then we go to because we go when they open. Next one is Elektrovnia. The next one was Brovary, and then we end up in Norblin. Long story, too much. I was working in Frankfurt, Germany, when the Berlin Wall fell. I got over to Berlin. Amazing what's going on. I went back to business school. There were no jobs available in 1992. Fortunately, I went to a great university, and they were looking for volunteers to come to Central Europe to be partnered next to entrepreneurs to help convey capitalism, because it was 1992.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I signed up for 1 year, was impressed and amazed with everything that's going on in Poland, and just decided to stay. So stayed from 92, started working in real estate. Real estate was not working very well. So was planning on going back, but then some other Americans and we opened up a club called Ground Zero, which you're probably too young to know. It was one of the top clubs at the time. And then we did Blue Cactus, and then we did Boathouse, and then opened up cafes and bars all over the country.
So, lots of kind of milestones in restaurant and kind of entertainment and food and dining and entertainment industry. Yes, exactly. Okay, but also what I wanted to say that in a shortcut kind of.
Yeah.
So you come to Poland, you start in restaurant business overall, but then you join a landlord on the development side, investment developer side, and then at some point started to export this. Based on your Polish experience, you were experienced enough to expand your business to other major capitals as well.
In order to do what we do, food halls or community hubs are extremely expensive to build.
Why?
Because the business model is such that it's let's compare it to a food court.
Yeah.
Okay. A food court is still expensive because the landlord needs to pay for creating, the lighting, the tables, the chairs. They usually give some tenant fit out to the operators, but the operators are Burger King, McDonald's, Salad Story, Thai Walk, right? A food hall is unique because it has mom and pop owners that are coming out of food trucks, and they don't have the capital. But where the benefit is that they don't have the capital, but so the landlord is paying for most of the fit out of the restaurant.
Yeah.
The food hall operator comes in with just their kitchen equipment and their tray dress to make the box look good. And I like to use this example, which I'm gonna be careful throwing out numbers. And we pay a lot of money in rent. I mean, I built the business model in Elektrownia Powiśla, and I'm now a tenant inside the food hall there. And we pay a lot of money to the landlord, a tremendous amount. And we pay a turnover rent on top of that because we do quite well. We additionally pay service charges and marketing fees. But I'm happy because we got our money back after 6 months of operation.
Oh, wow.
Which in our industry is very difficult to do. So the great thing about the food halls is that they're nurturing people within the gastronomy industry. Actually, this is where the food halls in Warsaw are much better designed. The whole complex is better than what we actually get in the UK. But the amazing thing about the UK is that the operators of the food halls are doing a better job of nurturing the local talent, because primarily in London, you have a lot of immigrants that are looking for something to do, how to make money, and they have wonderful programs for training those people to understand how to run a business and consequently, they have really good food offers that are run very, very well.
And customer service level is, I think, on a different level from Poland sometimes.
That's a cultural thing. I think, hospitality service is difficult to get in Poland. Yeah. How do you tell the story?
To be a little bit provocative, do you think this is diluted somehow by other people coming to Poland, speaking fluent Polish or not speaking fluent Polish?
No,
but
no,
that's
a cultural thing. I mean, I've been here long enough. I feel like I'm half Polish, and I can. It's when I was working with White Star, we did service center. We did an office park that was catering to the service center industry. And I met with a lot of the world leaders that are, the service centers where a company like Shell Oil will put its back offices in countries, and Poland still is a popular place. And they never put customer service in Poland. It's Portugal, it's Spain, it's Italy. That's where customer service, Greece is kind of in their DNA, whereas you don't get the customer service here.
Okay.
But innovation, look, it's Poland's. It's one of the best countries for entrepreneurship right now.
I completely agree. Yes, I came here knowing I didn't know Polish. I didn't know anybody. But my secret source, secret sauce for success for me was the distance from like the diaspora groups of my native languages, because there was so much depression and hate, you could say, to Poles, to local citizens and so on, because they don't understand us, they don't help us. So I said to myself, "Oh no, I don't want this negativity." So I just distanced myself, and then it was easier and easier to learn Polish and local culture, as you say, relations, network, all of this stuff.
One thing, if we could flip to, is the because it's a topic that we were discussing. By the way, you have a great turnout tonight. Lots of people here. Is whether or not where will a food hall work? There are two issues: is how big does the city need to be, and the second thing is what type of asset can it work in? And regarding the first one, we like to say that just because people are wealthy or they live in a big city does not mean they have a monopoly on having fun. Everyone wants to have fun, right? And whether you're poor or really wealthy, you still want to have fun. Whether you live in London or Swoopsk, you want to have fun. And so consequently, we do think that there's an opportunity to build these community hubs in any market. It just needs to be catered to exactly what that local community wants, right? So that's one thing that we strongly believe in. But there is a minimum threshold that you need to have in order for them to work. It's 6 to 8 restaurants. And then the marketing, the smaller the market that you're in, the harder you have to work to get people to come in.
Yeah.
It may go from a Thursday to Sunday thing. The ones in the cities here, because you have so many more people, they can work 7 days a week.
So huge spikes, but then you go down in turnover and footfall and all this stuff.
Right. And then the second thing is whether or not food halls or community hubs can work in retail projects. And I like to say, well, go up to Stacja Food Hall, which is in one of the worst shopping centers in the whole country, in Metropolia, and it works. There were 7,000 square meters of vacant space when we started, and now the whole top floor is totally rented and it's hopping.
That's Pruszków, you say?
No, it's in the Wrzeszcz district of Gdańsk.
Yeah, okay.
So,
what was the asset again?
It's called Metropolia.
Yeah, in Metropolia.
Metropolia.
Yeah.
And the project Stacja Food Hall, 2,500 square meters. It almost killed us to open that thing just because it was not obvious. I mean, it was a really, really poor shopping center. No national nor international tenants were there. Right next to it was Balticka, extremely successful shopping center. The advantage was that the Wrzeszcz is there are a lot of people that live in the district. And we were right on the train line, which is kind of like their metro line that goes all the way from Gdańsk all the way to Gdynia. So it was easy to get to. But we still had to gain the confidence of the local community to say, no, you should come here. And that started with, this is where, again, the difference between the food court and the food hall is that we had 20 amazing entrepreneurs, and our job was to nurture their success. Of course, we're doing marketing, we're doing events, but we had to make sure that the food was good and that they were focusing on guest service, that the place was clean, that it was safe. And in one of the worst shopping centers in the country. They have 20 restaurants there, 3 bars, and it's rocking, right? And so, every day when you have 1,500, 2,000 people a day going to an asset, where people say, I want to go there for that, the food halls become anchors.
Yeah.
And it's all about creating the community. So leapfrogging back to Warsaw, you look at Electrownia Pobieśle, which, it has significant seasonality, but they do a great job in the wintertime of organizing events. They're fairs where it's clothing, vintage this, and our turnover doubles whenever they do that, right? So, but it's in their interest, the landlord's interest, because the landlord's generating higher rent because of the events that they're doing.
Exactly.
And so that's where, going back to what I mentioned before about working at Gdańsk when it was such a transactional thing where you lease the space, all the people that were involved in opening up a shopping center, they go, right? And they leave it to the property management teams, which unfortunately, they were not the ones at that time, which is interesting. Back then, it was the people that were not as competent as the developers were working in property management. But now asset management is so important because you have to work that asset now, right? So Poland quickly went from, if you build it, you can lease it and everyone will come, to holy shit. And sorry, this started happening before COVID hit, and then COVID hits. And then it was just, if you own retail, you don't have an option now. You have to focus on how you're going to move away from just being transactional to creating community in the asset.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's why we're really busy. ULI I was in a conference just 3 or 4 weeks ago. They've now created a category. It's called operational real estate. So, and it's because real estate now, whether some of the items there are student housing as an example, hotels is probably the easiest, simplest, because if you own the asset at the hotel operator, you want to help them survive. But it's senior living. Yeah. But really, where the real activity is happening right now is I'm in Berlin tomorrow working on a 100,000 square meter asset with office, with a grocery store, with hotel, and they need help in how do you pull it all together? How do you be the glue? And that's where we can help, because we have so many years of experience on the restaurant side and big venue, creating community, educating the landlords and getting comfortable with putting a bit more investment in the project. But when they do it, the rents are significantly higher, the footfall is significantly higher, and it pays off in spades. Yeah.
Look, your experience extends to huge geography, but also in time. So imagine you are in a time machine and you travel 5 or 10 years ahead in time. What kind of food hall you think you will see when you exit this time machine? I know it's difficult, but you have 1 minute.
It's gonna segment, just like every industry segments over time. You're going to have, even in Warsaw, we now have, the great thing about Warsaw, we have 4 well-functioning food halls in a really tight geographic area. Look at Browary and Nordblien. They're 450 meters apart from each other. But Nordblien is catering to the middle market, whereas Browary is going after the premium market. So they can coexist, right? Nordblien is all about the evening fun, live music, whereas Browary is brighter lights and see and be seen. They stole a little bit from Koshiki. I'm not answering your question yet. I think things are going to segment. Clearly what we see, what we're recommending to our clients, which was confirmed when we were in London, is that there are 2 add-ons. One of them is what Nordblien is doing, which is live entertainment. And the other thing is, which is very popular in London, they're called activity bars. Yeah. In Warsaw, we have one called Zagrywki, which is Zagrywki's catering to a very young crowd, but once again, just because it works for them, because they're in a complex with a lot of that's catering to young people, but 30 and 40-year-olds also want to socialize, to anything to put the phone down and to engage. Yeah. And so the eating and the drinking will then become, it's still going to be the core, but what's going to go on around that? We're working on one where they want to put in a small theater, because the big theaters are not working as well, but interactive, entertainment that way. So it's going to, children's play, Another project we're doing in Berlin actually has the youth entertainment as well. And so it has to cater to whatever it is that the local community wants.
Yeah.
So
So everybody, that's a piece of history, you could say, in Food Hall, not only in Poland, but in the whole,
Great areas.
and ongoing as well. Yes. And you see full of energy and full of ideas for Food Hall sector or niche in real estate.
We call it community hubs. Changing the title now. It's community hubs. It's more than a food hall.
So it's a more universally covering more functions, social functions, not only commercial or business functions. John, thanks a lot.
Yep.
You're a market maker of a specific niche, and congratulations with your success, and have fun doing business and do business having fun.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Good stuff. Ciao.